It's been years since Sonic the Hedgehog's last video game outing. Team Sonic Racing from 2019 delivered a title that was not bad and was relatively received well from fans, but was quickly forgotten due to its lack of content and support after release. Also, the game not being buffed up too much, being pretty bare bones. Not only was this a racing title and not the main meat of the series, but due to that lack of content, it was quickly forgotten by Sonic fans and had them asking, when's the next game? In the midst of comic books, movies, and brand new TV series, there was plenty of Sonic the Hedgehog content and news to keep us busy throughout the next 2 years, but still we were all wondering, when is the next Sonic game? When's the next anything? And on May 27th, it finally came. During Sonic Central, it was announced that Sonic Colors would be making its grand return with an all-new remaster titled Sonic Colors Ultimate, as well as a 2-part animation called Sonic Colors Rise of the Wisps. While it definitely wasn't a remaster that was on everybody's radar and wish list, it was definitely one that was needed, as Sonic Colors is over 10 years old at this point and was only available on the Wii. As we get further and further away from that console's lifespan, it's going to be pretty hard to acquire the game and be able to play it for audiences nowadays. With the new revamp on modern consoles, it's more accessible now than ever. So, does Sonic Colors Ultimate stick the landing, or does it fall flat on its face? Well, today we're going to be taking a look at the newest Sonic the Hedgehog title. Every aspect of it, from the gameplay, to the history of it, to the music, to the extra content added. We're not going to leave a stone unturned, so we can determine if this truly is a good Sonic game. So without any further ado, let's get started. In recent years, Sonic Colors has been very up and down in terms of its reception, specifically in the Sonic community. Fans seem to have slowly but surely shrunk on the game since its release. Originally being seen as the savior of Sonic, the greatest Sonic game since the adventure titles, is seen as very mediocre and has put the series in a quote-unquote bad place. Last year for the game's 10th anniversary, I did a little overview of the game and how it's impacted the series, and absolutely, the game did change a lot when it came to Sonic. What started the quote-unquote meta era of wisps, corny writing, and bad depictions of our characters, as well as Sonic being the only exclusively playable character, a significant amount of 2D sections. It very much so inspired future Sonic games to come like Generations, Lost World, and Forces. I know every Sonic fan doesn't feel this way, and there are a bunch of fans of the original Sonic Colors. I am one of those fans too. I really like the game, but it's kind of hard to deny that its perception in the fan base really has changed a lot. Maybe not with everybody, but a handful of people. So you can only imagine the backlash and hesitation from a lot of fans when this was revealed. Well, actually, you didn't have to wait for the reveal, because this game leaked. That's right, this game leaked on multiple European gaming websites. Listings for the game popped up on websites such as SoGameLay, as well as other unannounced Sonic titles like Sonic Collection and that Team Sonic Racing 30th anniversary thing that's supposed to be out. I don't know what's going on with that thing. This seemed pretty legit, and I'm pretty sure the listings were taken down, which only further confirmed that the game was a thing. This came right after everybody was really hyped about Sonic Adventure remakes and the possibility of those being a thing. You have to realize, late 2020, early 2021, everybody was talking about adventure remakes like they were definitely going to happen. And with the confirmation of Roger Craig Smith and the writers leaving the series, it felt like the Sonic series was going to be going in a completely different direction. A direction that wasn't like Colors, Generations, Lost World, and Forces. Again, I'm not one of these people, but it's just something I've noticed in the community as a very active member of it. A lot of people are just done with this version of Sonic. So Sonic Colors Ultimate didn't really inspire hope in terms of the changing of the series, but we only had to wait a couple more months for this to get officially announced at Sonic Central, where we got a full-fledged trailer and release date. There would be a bunch of new content added. It looked significantly different from the original. I was very excited to see what a new version of Sonic Colors would be like on modern consoles, where I don't have to play with this thing. A game packed with new content and stuff to do and reason to go back and play the game. Once again, there was some questioning as to why Colors was a game that was being remastered so late after its release. I think I already summed up why I think it's a good idea that they remastered the game. And after the announcement, Zuka actually did a lot of interviews with different websites, and in one of them he revealed that this was a perfect game for new Sonic fans to get into the series with, because only 1 year earlier, there was the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which was a huge success and brought in a bunch of new fans to the series. Something that was sorely missed with the Sonic movie was other content to go alongside of it. Sega didn't hold up their end of the bargain when it came to promoting this character around that time, trying to capitalize on the movie's success. So they're not making that same mistake again with the second movie, making sure they're very ahead of the ball releasing this and Sonic Origins ahead of time. And yes, this game is very much so for new fans. It's very accessible, there's not a huge learning curve, the concepts and ideas aren't as crazy weird as stuff like Unleashed or 06, which I like, but once again, it's just way more accessible, especially for people coming off the movie where there aren't a lot of quote-unquote Sonic ideas. Some complaints and nitpicks popped up through the game's marketing, such as tails save, the game's difficulty, the lighting, and after a couple trailers, spotlights, and animations showing off the game, it's finally here. So now that we have the context and history out of the way, let's talk about the game itself. The story of Sonic Colors Ultimate is exactly what you think it is, the story of Sonic Colors. Remember, this is a remaster, this is a game we technically have already played, so a lot of the stuff that we are going to go over is going to be very redundant if you already know about Sonic Colors, but still, just stick around. Something very notorious about Sonic Colors is that it doesn't take itself too seriously. The story is actually barely there. Yeah, there is a plot around it about saving aliens from Dr. Eggman's Interstellar Amusement Park, but it's not trying to set up any lore, mythology, it's just trying to tell a simple story about Sonic and Tails freeing aliens from bad guys. In terms of the story, I think the plot is actually very solid, and I'd like to see what could be done with it, but unfortunately, I don't like the writers. Warren Graff and Ken Pontac, I feel like every time I talk about them, I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm sorry, their dialogue is just not good and doesn't really understand Sonic or his character. At the end of the day, even if you want to make something different with Sonic, you do have to understand the fundamentals of who he is as a character, but unfortunately, a lot of Sonic fans and creators mistake his sarcasm for arrogance. And it seems like every once in a while they remember who he really is in scenes like this, but then you have scenes like this, and it just completely misses the mark. It is not good, but the sad thing is, this is probably their best work with the series. It's just trying to be a campy, silly Saturday morning cartoon. It's not trying to be any more than that, which can't be said about stuff like Forces. Alright, good, I met my quota for one Forces disc per video. If you can look past the corny to just awful dialogue, and appreciate the small moments of levity that can either be funny or entertaining, it's really just inoffensive at the end of the day. It doesn't make me genuinely mad, it doesn't lack competence, it just lacks basic understanding of the franchise, which was a mistake on Sega's end to even hire these two in the first place, because they're not fans of Sonic and they don't know anything about it. You don't need to hire a lore master fan of the series, but at least somebody who understands it in some way. Thankfully though, the game isn't too tied to its story, so it can be skipped, completely ignored, or appreciated for what it is. But Ultimate does actually update the graphics, which is expected. It looks much better, much more clean and crisp, but that's pretty much all there is in terms of the cutscenes and story. But let's go ahead and talk about the actual gameplay itself. Sonic Colors is divided into 6 different worlds: Tropical Resort, Sweet Mountain, Starlight Carnival, Planet Wisp, Aquarium Park, and Asteroid Coaster. All in my opinion, this is gonna sound so controversial, I think are the greatest selection of Sonic the Hedgehog levels there have been in terms of aesthetics. I'm not a huge fan of every single level in here. In fact, I think a lot of them are dragged out, especially because they all have to be like 6 acts each. But in terms of the variety, it being set in space and having all these different planets allowed for such creativity and weirder and different stuff to be done. They're all so unique to each other and it just stands out. A lot of Sonic games are unfortunately subject to having way too many cities. This is able to explore new stuff, like a theme park and a junk food land and a giant aquarium. There's so much stuff that they do here, it's so enjoyable. It's all controlled within a 3D/2D environment, which is one of the biggest things about Sonic Colors. While it is classified as a 3D Sonic title, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be. It is notorious. There is a lot of 2D in this game, and I don't really have an issue with that. People are gonna have preferences from 2D to 3D, and that's completely fine. But I don't think it being 2D necessarily makes it bad. I think the 2D can be fun every once in a while. Sometimes you'll run into some really bad levels, specifically the elevator ones, where you just do this. It's really boring. Also, the automated stomping on the spring sections, very boring too. But aside from those, I don't really have any issues with the 2D sections. I think they could be very fun. Blocky and overly simplistic at times, yeah, but overall, say it's like 80 to 20 good to bad. It kind of makes the 3D sections feel more rewarding. And it's not like it's super rare that you run into 3D sections. It's a very common thing, almost every level. It controls really well, it's really tight. I don't know if it's because it's on a different controller or on modern hardware, but I don't know. It kind of feels more fluid, which is great. The controls are just way better. Maybe it's because I was playing on this, so I'm bound to play better on this. See, that's one of the reasons that they ported the game. Sonic Colors Ultimate more than Sonic Colors actually has me going back to this game to play again after beating it. I don't know, there's something really fun about just going back in the levels, collecting red rings and park tokens. Games like Forces didn't really make me want to explore the levels. There just wasn't enough substance, but with Sonic Colors Ultimate, there's so much going on with with inside of the levels. So many different pathways. The wisps are obviously a huge part of this game, which we'll get to in a bit, which allows for more exploring, which by proxy makes you want to go explore. It also helps that it's just a treat to look at, no pun intended. But outside of just the traditional levels, you also have boss fights, which do remain the same, but I'm gonna say something I don't feel like enough people mention, and that's the fact that these are just kind of revolutionary. I'm not even sure if this is the right term to use. Yeah, they're the Ferris wheel boss fights, which aren't the funnest, but then you have stuff like Starlight Carnival's boss fight and the final boss. Say what you will about this boss fight now, but Sonic Colors / Sonic Colors Ultimate executes it perfectly. Building orchestra, which thankfully isn't untouched, but we'll get to the music later. The use of all of the wisps. The satisfying feeling of destroying that stupid Eggman robot and launch that into space. It's so cool. Not only is it still awesome, but at least even better in 4K 60 frames. Maybe it's nostalgia, but I don't know. I really like these boss fights, man. And they're still just as fun in here. Except these stupid Ferris wheel ones. I don't like these. No offense, but just I don't know, it's so boring. Overall, the gameplay remains very much so unchanged in some ways. In my opinion, all the changes are for the best, mainly that it controls way better. Visually, it is objectively just better looking. And speaking of which, let's go ahead and talk about the graphics. The graphics for Sonic Colors Ultimate have very much so been a hot topic. I don't think anybody can say it looks bad or even worse than the original, but the main thing I've seen is bloom. I've seen a lot of bloom jokes, and yeah, there is a lot of bloom, but you know what? I don't care. Two things. One, I still think this looks better than the original and it holds up on modern hardware, especially for an 11-year-old game. And two, graphics aren't going to hinder my experience with the game, especially if they look like this. There's nothing wrong with this. It looks fine. I never talked about this even when I was covering the rollout to this game because it's such a stupid topic. I'm sorry, but who freaking cares? Obviously people care, but I don't. Maybe it's because I'm not as video game savvy as a lot of other people, or I just don't care about this stuff. That's probably it. I don't know. I had fun playing this game, and the graphics didn't hinder it. In fact, I think it looks visually way better. I think the lighting's better. I think almost every aspect of this visually is better than the original. By the way, Sonic's model in this is mwah. I love it. From Sonic's model to the lighting to the actual visuals of the game and how they work with the landscapes. I like how Tropical Resort actually looks like space. I know people said it was really dark, but like, it's space. Sweet Mountain looks as delicious as ever. The grass in Planet Wisp is as lush and gorgeous. I want to go take a swim in Aquarium Park. I want to hop on that roller coaster to death in Asteroid Coaster. And running away from that black hole is just as exhilarating. And while yes, the cutscenes are not re-rendered or completely redone, but they're upscaled and they look great. I think they did an amazing job with this game visually, and I think a lot of the issues are simply nitpicks. People are entitled to their own opinion, but sometimes I find some of the opinions ridiculous. No disrespect if you don't like the visuals, you're completely entitled to that take. I don't know, maybe it's because I played it on Series X/S, which is a newer console, but yeah, overall, I love the visuals. Next, this kind of applies to the gameplay of things, the wisps. The wisps obviously are a huge part of Sonic Colors. Not only were they giant in the marketing campaign, but they're just so impactful into the game itself, you can't really go a level without using them. They all return, they're all back, and while yes, some are left out from 3DS titles, from the original Sonic Colors on the Wii, they are back. In fact, they brought a new friend, the Jade Ghost Wisp. Now, I was really excited for the Jade Ghost Wisp. It was a big part of this game's marketing campaign. It's a brand new Wisp. It comes over from Team Sonic Racing, where it made its first appearance, and essentially you can just turn into a ghost. You can go through drivers, obstacles in some cases, power-ups, and in my opinion, it was the weakest Wisp power-up in the game. And unfortunately, that's also the case in this game. Yes, this wasn't in the original, so it is an add-on, and it did come afterwards. And it does have components like replacing red rings in some areas, so you can use the Jade Ghost Wisps, and it does have some use. But I don't know, it's just not fun. I didn't know anything could be more boring than hover. But this takes the cake. You can really just go through a wall, and that's pretty much it. Also, it just kind of looks weird. What is this? I don't know, I was really disappointed by this. I was expecting something a little more, maybe something a little more abusable, something you could just use to just go through the level, you know, get through things that could just knock out like a minute on a speed run. I don't know, it's just very underwhelming. Not a fan of the Jade Ghost Wisp, but other stuff like Rocket and Drill are as fun as ever. Cube is cube. Spike is just as overpowered and actually looks really cool. In terms of the update, I think it's the best looking Wisp in form. Overall, all the Wisps are very fun to use. Except these two, I don't like you. Now how about we get into all that new content that this game comes with? This game's effectively, what if Sega actually spent like another year on Sonic Colors to put more content in the game for people to go back to? The biggest one being Rival Rush. That's right, the new feature where you can go against Metal Sonic to collect park tokens to unlock stuff like cosmetics, which we'll get into in a bit. Now here's the thing, I like these, I think they're very fun, and they're not overly easy. They're not hard, but they're not gonna hold your hand. The sad thing is though, there's only one per world. So yeah, that's right, only 6 races in total, which doesn't allow you to collect too much. Don't get me wrong, it is a way to get stuff like gloves and shoes and music tracks, but really you gotta go through the levels to get a majority of those. It left me a little underwhelmed, only 6 races. Would it have been cool for every level? Yeah, but maybe that's asking a little too much. But I don't know, something a little more with Metal Sonic. Heck, just to be able to play as Metal Sonic in the game would have been really great. Would it be that hard to replace Sonic with Metal Sonic? I mean, you have a model for him. Same with Tails. Speaking of Tails, let's talk about Tails Save. Tails Save was the subject of a lot of controversy pre-release, mainly due to difficulty discussions. People were saying that Sonic Colors was already a simple game, and adding this would make it overly easy. And while yes, I did use Tails Save because I am not good at video games, for everybody who wants a challenge, quote unquote, you can just walk past them. Even still, I don't think Tail Save is that bad even when you have it or makes the game any less difficult. The same bad guys are still going to be there, the same boss fights, the same platforming challenges, they're all still there. It's just it resets you. Also, more Tails the better. I know that makes me sound like a little 5-year-old who just likes to see Tails, but I don't know, it's kind of cool that this game is using other characters. Like, Metal Sonic was nowhere to be seen in the original Sonic Colors. It's just kind of cool to have him here. And utilizing Tails more in-game makes a lot of sense because he's along for the journey. Overall, Tails Save is very inoffensive and in some cases is a very welcome addition. I learned to either just walk past it or suck it up. Speaking of suck, let's talk about the music. I'm joking, I'm just kidding, okay? Well, I wouldn't go to the extent to call any of the music in this game bad. I would say that the use of remixes is not a very welcome addition in my book. There's no real option to use either the original or remix, which is baffling to me because that's been a thing before with Sonic Generations. That's its own thing. My issue is that the remixes are just way too overproduced. It takes the original song and kind of butchers it sometimes. It's not awful, but it's just doing way too much to make it sound new. A lot of Sonic games recently have been heavily leaning into EDM, and like the worst kind of EDM. There's something so much more vibrant about the original soundtrack, the use of electronics and real instruments, that made for one of the best Sonic soundtracks I'd say of all time. There was a reason that Kanye West was gonna sample this soundtrack. Yes, that's real. And the OG soundtrack was that good, and this is just not it. None of these are like awful or the worst things ever, but they did way too much with it, and it's just kind of ear-grating at times. Once again, if there's a patch that could allow you to just say no to the remix, that would be great. I appreciate the effort in that they went the extra mile to make new songs, but I just don't think they're good, and I think I could say that. I do like the new version of Reach for the Stars, however. It does use autotune still, which I see people have raised an issue with, but I don't think autotune automatically equals bad. In fact, I think the use of autotune in the new version is way better than the original. The other one was just way too Owl City and overdone. This one strips it back a little more, and while yes, you could see that the vocalist isn't doing that great of a job, it's enough to make it sound passable. It's still a Sonic classic, and I think this new version is even better. More stuff like this, please. This is what we wanted when it came to the music. Also, let's talk about those cosmetics I mentioned earlier. Through different accomplishments and park tokens, you can unlock cosmetics, which give you new gloves, shoes, player icons, so much different stuff. You can really just deck the game out however you want. There's a bunch of stuff like paint splatter, different colors. It's a neat little addition, I'm glad they did it. Sega's been dabbling a lot in customization lately. Like the past 3 Sonic games, including this, done a lot with customization. I'm interested in seeing if Rangers will have any customization either. Anyways, point is, it's a nice addition. I'm pretty sure a lot of kids are going to get a kick out of this and making their own different Sonics. I remember doing stuff like this in those old Cars games. I know this is very off topic, but I always loved like customizing my own Lightning McQueen. And now people will be able to do stuff like that with Sonic. Do I love all of these? No, I think some of these look really stupid and ridiculous. I think they're supposed to, honestly. It's just fun. It's a cool little addition, and I don't see any reason to really complain about it. My favorite personally is the Sonic movie movie boost I got. Is it a little biased because it's Sonic movie? Maybe. I don't know, it just kind of looks cool. It's still Sonic, but it has that extra effect to it. But this and also the player icon kind of tie into a very small issue I have, and I just kind of wish there were different skins, man. I wish there was a Sonic movie skin. It wasn't just Sonic movie boost. I wish it was the Sonic movie, the movie Sonic, you know? When I see this player icon of Shadow, I want to play as Shadow. I know he wasn't in the story, but Metal Sonic wasn't really in the story either. There doesn't really need to be any logical reason to play as them. You don't need to make a DLC story or anything like that. Sometimes Sega likes to go the extra mile for everything, which can be appreciated, but also sometimes just isn't necessary. And I don't know, playing as other characters like Shadow or Knuckles or even Amy would have been fun. This does not hurt the game at all or change my rating of it or make it any worse. This is just like stuff I want and stuff they could have done, and as a review, seeing stuff like this is just a little lazy. But at the same time, I'm saying it's just a cool addition, accept it, and shut up and stop crying about it. Because at the end of the day, I want to take this game for what it is. A new version of a Sonic classic that was very critically acclaimed, that's meant to get good reviews and sell copies. Introduce and entertain new Sonic fans to the series, allowing for this franchise and character and fan base, most importantly, to grow. The Sonic fan base was getting old, like really old. At the end of the day, you can have 20-somethings as your main demographic, especially with a character like Sonic the Hedgehog. It was and is a kid's property, and you need to appeal to that demographic, which Sonic is aimed towards, to continue this franchise and to continue growing this fan base, which can continue Sonic becoming a popular character, which will continue giving Sega money. And the more money they have, the more content we'll get. Notice when Sonic makes money, the more stuff comes out of it. The less money it makes, the less we'll get. Instead of boycotting a product like a child, or actively trashing a product and the fans of it because it isn't specifically tailored towards you, isn't going to help anything. This is a remake of a title from 2010 that kicked off a line of Sonic games that a lot of people just don't like. And you know what? Accept it. What I'm about to say is something that I feel like a lot of people surprisingly haven't said in this fan base, and something that does need to be said. It's time to stop chasing this. It's been over 10 years. We look ridiculous. And this is speaking to myself too. I grew up with this stuff. This is my era, my favorite era. But I can recognize that this era is done. Whether it's about gameplay or tone, Sonic is not the type of franchise that is going to grow up with you. Sonic has and always will be aimed towards children. I'm not saying that people older than 12 can enjoy Sonic. Look at me. The most popular people in this fan base are adults, grown-ass men and women who still like Sonic, and it's an amazing thing. But the thing that a majority of them have been able to understand is that it's not going to grow up with you. There comes a point where the cynicism is just bringing down people's moods, where it's just unnecessary. Criticism is fine. Harassment and obnoxious behavior isn't. There's a point where you can maturely criticize and try to fix things, but there's also a point where your obnoxiousness and cynicism does nothing but harm. Point is, so many people were upset when this thing was announced that it went back to what kickstarted the quote-unquote meta era, which a lot of people really don't like. The thing that's been going on for like 10 plus years, and everybody is entitled to feel the way that they feel about it. It's perfectly fine. But this is Sonic, and I love Sonic, and I want to love and appreciate Sonic for what it is, and this is just Sonic right now, and I have to accept it. Continue fighting for what you love, for what you want from this franchise. Stick by it, continue to support it. Criticize, continue to improve it, but do it while being respectful, kind, and don't bring down other people's enjoyment. Don't be antagonistic. Try to carry yourself with love. Love everybody. Be kind to your fellow Sonic fan. There are young fans of these games who really love them, and I don't want them to feel like they're alone in this, or that their opinions are wrong. Everybody has their Sonic, and this is some people's Sonic, and it's a good Sonic, even if it isn't my personal preference. I really enjoyed Sonic Colors Ultimate. Here's my score. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Wah!